Bruce Kidd, the Sales and Marketing Director at Oasis.
And like everybody else, you know what I find very interesting is that before this, you spoke to most companies and you would say to them, everybody would go, yeah, I work in the cloud. Oh, I can easily work from home. It's so easy. I don't have to go to the office. Oh, I can go down McDonald's and I can work. It's so easy. I just need an internet access. And suddenly, when we were all faced with the reality of having to work from home, it suddenly wasn't that bloody easy, was it? No. Because suddenly you have to think, oh God, is the internet going to be strong enough? Is it going to manage all day long? How am I going to get meetings done? Suddenly, I've never done face-to-face meetings like this online. I've never had to. I'm old-fashioned, and that's why wanting to see people and discuss and get a feeling for how they operate their business, so I can come up with a solution. But so I've had to adapt doing that kind of thing now, which I didn't have to do before. So I find it interesting that a lot of companies, even like us, we were, we can work from home quite easily. But then suddenly when the reality hit us, it was quite a process to adapt to that, because I don't see myself running around businesses and offices before there's any real kind of vaccines and antibody testing and stuff like that in place. My social media engagement has actually increased in the last month, and it's because I now spend more time on that, because I realize I don't have the other element of going to an event where I can pick up stuff. So I have to kind of balance that out. So the social media engagement has now increased because of that.
Christian Downer is a Zoom, Facebook and LinkedIn trainer.
People often forget this. Zoom's been around for a very long time, long time. But it was, you'd offer it to people and they'd be very hesitant. You'd only do it as kind of a last resort. But when the lockdown hit, obviously we were looking for a platform to change meetings and, to still have conversations with people where we can see their face. And it just exploded. I don't think Zoom would be the place that I would be suggesting you have the kind of conversations and interactions that would be privileged in that sense. Anyway, I mean, I don't know about you, but if people were to hack into my Zoom and see what I was talking about, 90% of the time they would be very disappointed with just how dull and boring it was. I mean, I do know that one local networking group to us did have a group of. They were in the early days before I was involved in helping them. They were Zoom bombed, to use that description. And
is that the terminology now? Is that it? When loads of people join your Zoom call, you get Zoom bombed.
Yeah, and they got Zoom bombed by people that were wearing sombreros and had nothing else on. Skype. This should be Skype's moment, but I don't think they developed their tech. They built a great product. 10, 15 years ago, but they haven't brought it on. And I think what Zoom did, it just captured that moment in time. And sometimes companies can do that, and they are very much where they are.
James Cridland is the MD of Media Info, publisher at podnews.net. James is a radio and podcast futurist.
If you look at radio, 9 out of 10 people in the UK listen to radio every single week, and that number's not different to Australia, which is where I'm talking to you from, to other countries, the US, Canada, and so on and so forth. So 9 out of 10 for radio, which is a mass market medium. So if you're a small business and you want to advertise and make sure that you're going to reach a lot of people, radio is the place to go, absolutely without a doubt. Then you have a look at podcasting. Podcasting in the UK is about 1 in 5 people. So it's not 9 out of 10, it's just 1 in 5, but they are far more niche. They're far more focused podcasts. So if you're a company that produces, purple wool, then there will be a podcast out there for knitting in purple that you can be advertising on. Or if there isn't, you can actually make it and make sure that you are actually producing great content for people that are interested in the product that you actually go out and sell. I think there were 91,000 new podcasts just last month. 91,000 podcasts. I would take a guess that about 89,000 of those were rubbish. But you can start doing a great podcast just with your mobile phone and a free app called Anchor, which will get you on there, get you into all of the podcast apps. It's a great way for you to try things out, see what works, see what doesn't. And when you're ready to take that next step and ready to, take it a little bit more seriously, there's a bunch of great podcast hosts out there as well who can really help you, move what you're doing forward.
Namisha Raja, founder of NIMS Fruit Crisps.
I was looking for a healthy snack for children, really. I just felt most of the snacks weren't truly healthy, although they always say 100% natural. They weren't. It had about a list of 50 ingredients on the back of the pack. So I can't see how that's natural. So it was finding a snack for children that children wanted to eat and parents were happy for them to eat. And it was that marriage of where parents are always shoving fruit into the hands of children and children are always trying to get them to buy a packet of crisps. And I thought, well, mix the two together and there you go. Hopefully it's a perfect product for both parents and children. It was important that we don't, in the process, kill all the nutrients. I remember buying my daughter a fruit smoothie, a well-known brand, and it said just fruit, one of your 5 a day, but then you realize it's been pasteurized, which is at really high heat. No vitamin C left, hardly any fiber left or anything. So I wanted to find ways of retaining as much of the nutritional content, if you like. Very inspiring to be able to get one of those, but I didn't ever think we'd stand a chance, to be honest. But yes, we did it, and literally at the last minute submitted the application, and here we are. I was just totally blown away, and more so not because it's just the Queen's Award, but it's for innovation, which is what NIMS is all about. What we're the only fruit crisp manufacturer, we're the only one still doing the range that we are doing. Nobody else can quite get to that, and that's what's important to me, and that's what I love about doing what I do, is coming up with innovative products.
Sasha Morgan Evans, she's the talent development director at Fanbytes. As the way that TikTok is being used and the perception of TikTok and sort of demographic and the users, how's that changed over the last couple of months, since lockdown?
I'd say it's definitely grown a lot, and in terms of demographic, that's definitely widened. Obviously, in the past, it was seen as more of the sort of teeny boppers, and it was very young for a while. But now with lockdown and more people with more time on their hands and more willingness to try things out, you're finding, I'm finding a lot more people my age, because that was one that I found a lot of people who are I'm 24, just to put it out there. People my age are very I know what TikTok is, but not that bothered. Whereas I've got mates making loads of TikToks constantly who were before I'd never go on TikTok. I've even got my parents who are in their 50s on TikTok. So it's just become a lot more general, a lot bigger. As an individual, for a person to become a big TikToker, it's a matter of uniqueness, having that sort of, embracing what your very special thing is, whether that's, there are a lot of people who are conventionally good looking and that's their thing, but there's also a lot of people who are really funny or great at dancing or just very strange. And I think it's embracing that and channeling it through your content, because TikTok's a different kind of platform than say Instagram, where it's very much you have to be aesthetically pleasing and your life is very aesthetically pleasing. Whereas TikTok's we welcome all the chaos. So that's the one thing, definitely just embrace yourself. Another thing is just, honestly, you have to be dedicated to it in the beginning. You have to be posting a lot. You have to care about it. You're not going to be an overnight sensation.
John Butt from Fire Protection Online.
We are like an Amazon of fire safety gear, and so we sell nationwide from here, and we sell fire extinguishers and all that kind of stuff. And if you can imagine, most of our customers are businesses, and so one day on a Monday, everything was fine, then everything stopped. Business just flicked a switch, everything stopped. I mean, so you imagine we've been going for 14 years or something. We have no bank borrowing, no nothing. But and we're extremely well organised as a company, but we're a kind of discounter. And so the one thing I've never considered was having no customers. So we'd covered everything else, but never really thought of the scenario of what happens if you haven't got any customers. And so business was about to would have gone bankrupt. So I decided to start looking into these products, and quite a while ago, started getting hold of all the stuff that we thought I could figure out what people would need. And we've been busy shipping this out. So we sell everything you possibly think of to do with the business is needing to get out of this lockdown. Luckily, we spent years building a good database of people because so for instance, we have tens of thousands of face masks in stock, approved ones. And I'll just point out before anyone starts shouting, we specifically sell the non-medical products. So we are not interfering with NHS supply lines. We're selling, because we've always sold. These face masks, by the way, were called dust masks about 3 months ago. They were known as dust masks, and they're worn by builders and people in fiberglass industry. And we apologise about the price because ones that we were selling for, I looked it up, for £1.04p. We're now having to sell for £4.5 each. It's ridiculous. But it's not ours. We're not making more money. It's what we have to buy them in at.
Floorja is the chief executive of Produced in Kent.
I think a week before lockdown came into force, we sat down with the team because we were, it was all over the news that it was going to happen. So we were kind of trying to see how we could respond to that with our organisation, and decided to come up with the Help Kent Buy Local campaign. So initially that was rolled out across social media, where we encouraged people to use a hashtag Help Kent Buy Local so that we could find those businesses that were still operational during lockdown, delivering, making, producing food and drink for the Kent residents. And then we extended our help to a website, the helpkentbuylocal.co.uk website. And that's been a real good success, I think. We've got over 250 businesses listed on the website. It helps customers find local food and drink outlets in their vicinity. So anyone still delivering, still having shops open, doing takeaways. I mean, the hospitality sector, of course, had to shut down completely, but some have pivoted and opened takeaway services. So we advertise those as well on the website. I think customer behavior has changed. I think people have rediscovered what's available on their doorstep and have seen that that's, good quality, that it's great food, that they have a much more direct relationship with the person selling the stuff to them. So I think that's all very positive. It's a positive, buyer experience, and I think that will stay with people. So I really hope that people will keep buying local, but I think they will actually. I think we've seen a lasting change already.
Stephen McHale, TikTok star, joining us on the show.
I was posting videos every single day. I've done it for nearly 4 years. So I wasn't until I was like 6 months in really, and I was like the December of 2016, and I was kind of like, I was doing it consistently, and I was like, that's when I knew like content creation is like my passion. I've always been creative, and I've always had love acting and creating things, but on this platform, it's like that's when I knew this is for me. I need to kind of just really go for it. And it took a long time, even then. It wasn't until like another year and a half until I really started making success on it. I realised that there was not really anyone like me in the sense of like big personality, someone who was plus size, which is being big has never been part of my comedy. It's never been part of like, oh, this is why I'm so different. But I realised there was no one else like me. So I started doing like original content, like original comedies. I'd make up characters, also do like dancing and singing. So I was like an all-rounder, because I realised that the more foot I could have in one door of all these like comedy, dancing, singing, like crafty videos, the bigger chance I would get to go viral, or the bigger chance I would get for people to see my content. The thing about TikTok is that it's madness, because the algorithm can be so confusing. It changes all the time. No one knows what's going on. So you can really go viral for the silliest of things, right? Which was my most viral video was me putting lipstick on, like 3 different lipsticks. Like,
oh yeah, the 3 colours.
It is so boring. But like people just love watching that kind of stuff. But I feel like doing hashtags, like trending hashtags on the page, that's really, really important if you want your account to be seen and be growing. Because if you do these hashtags regularly, TikTok will see that and say this person's using the hashtags. It's free promotion for them, really, depending on what they're promoting. So if you consistently do that, 1 or 2 times you might get on that little carousel, which is like the first 9 videos, and that gets you followers, that gets you profile views. The more that you kind of work with TikTok, that the bigger you grow, and then they'll start seeing you and go, oh, we like him, he does the trending hashtags, he looks like he'd he or she would be fun.
Addison Palmer, who's the development manager of FSB in Kent and Medway.
Our job is to listen to and to represent small businesses. So kind of since Boris Johnson's first recommendation not to go to pubs, that was a tricky one, we've been working non-stop really to understand all the issues and bring case studies to national government and local councils. So that has resulted in things like the Sybil's coronavirus business interruption loan scheme, like the cash grants, like the bounce back loans, like the furlough scheme, like the self-employed income scheme. All of this stuff has been worked on by our policy advisors at head office, and we've taken case studies from Folkestone, Dartford, Tunbridge Wells, and we put them all into the big national pot so that we can really help the government shape something that will really protect as many businesses as possible. If you've only got half your customers coming in the door, you can't afford to pay your staff or your suppliers, so it's not worth opening again. But others, the behind the scenes, some of the professional services, some of those sort of the digital side of things, they're going to be flat out and they've already been really busy. But equally, we've seen a real love for local coming through in all of this, and people kind of reconnecting with what is in their local vicinity. So actually the fishmongers saying, okay, if you're not going to walk into my fishmonger shop, I'll deliver. And they're using their delivery van to bomb around the town. I know quite a lot of pubs who've just said, well, the pub's shut, but I'll fill it with smaller kegs. And they're using it as a storage room and they're delivering. So there's been a renewed love of local and buying from those smaller firms that give you that real bespoke little customer care that you perhaps don't get with the really mega global firms.
Luke Quilter, the CEO of Sleeping Giant Media. Sleeping Giant Media is a fellow specialist search and social media marketing agency specialising in the application of digital marketing in Kent.
So obviously we do a live show similar to you guys. We do 2 of those a week, and started off really just simply using Google Hangouts, and just as I sort of learned the tech. So I think the biggest challenge is, normally in the sort of the world before this, it would be, I've got a team of people that would be learning all the tech, experimenting with everything, and I just turn up, sit down, and go, say what I'm told to say, and then they do all the wizardry in sort of beforehand and after, and do an amazing job with it. And I think that the biggest change has been a lot more of it sits on sort of my capability to try to understand some of the tech. So actually, you did this sort of tutorial using Premiere Pro. If I was going to do that, I'd have to learn Premiere Pro. I mean, what I've had to learn is OBS, Stream Deck, Stream PCs and stuff like that. So that's the tech that I've had to kind of get my head around to start with. We have spent a good amount of time trying to assess behavioral changes. So we've tried to look at our clients' behavioral changes, our team's behavioral changes. What are we likely to have formed in terms of habits over the last few months? And also, and your previous guest, Alison, talking about the impact on the environment and how these things have kind of changed. So so we're reinventing our business. We're not going back to where we were. There's not a case of we're trying to get ourselves back to the old Sleeping Giant Media, because that's gone. If we try to go back to it, it's not going to exist. There's no, that business is not the same anymore. So we're looking at every single aspect of our business and looking at what it will be in the future.